Kevin Durant made his dramatic return last night, but unfortunately it did not last long. Early in the second quarter, KD injures his Achilles and had to leave the game. Meanwhile, back on the court, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson hit 3 huge three-pointers in the final minutes to give the Warriors the lead. Closing seconds with Toronto down by 1. Kawhi Leonard gets double-teamed and Kyle Lowry's potential game winner deflected. Golden State got the victory with Game 6 Thursday back in the Bay. We are joined now by FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Good morning, Chris. What do you say is the biggest reason for this Warriors win?
Skip, let me make sense of all of this. All right. We've seen one 3-1 comeback in NBA Finals history, right? Cleveland over Golden State in 2016. I felt then, and I still feel now, that when Draymond got suspended for Game 5, that gave Cleveland the hope it needed, right? Just to feel like there's a chance. You know, we should win Game 5. We're going home. Then Game 7, you take your chances with the best player in the world, LeBron James. I think last night that's what Kevin Durant's comeback was for the Warriors. It was not only that he played well individually. Obviously, he was terrific with the 11 points. Not only that he opened up the floor for Steph and Klay and just made it easier for everybody, but the energy and the hope that created. Now, when he got hurt, I thought, contrary to what happened in Houston, I thought it was over. Because I thought they were going to be so deflated emotionally that, they were just going to collapse as human beings. And I give them credit for their resiliency. So I think that was a big part of this thing emotionally, and they showed some toughness, no question about it. We can point, when we look at why they won, we can point to some Raptors foibles at the end. Nick Nurse calling the timeout after Kawhi's flurry with 3:05 left.
Irrelevant to me. Irrelevant.
Really? Well,
it's too early. It doesn't. If that's your excuse, then you're going to lose the next.
That's not an excuse. But they had all the momentum, which is a big part of basketball. And I'm not saying it was definitely the game changer. But why did you call a timeout with 3 minutes left when your team is on this run? Kawhi's on fire, and Golden State is struggling.
Okay, he said they came out and looked like number 2 needed a blow. And also there's that new rule where if you don't use your timeout and it carries into the final 2 minutes, you lose your timeout. Okay?
I get it, but that's one thing you can point to. Secondly, is that the last play, to not get a clean look on the last play when you got, 16 seconds left, 15, 16 seconds left? Now, I thought with Kawhi, when he dribbled into the double team, once they doubled him, I thought he made the right play. But I thought if he had waited a little longer, and I don't think it was nerves, I think he just miscalculated. I think if he waits a little longer before he starts to make his move, just dribble into a pull-up 3, which he had hit, in that run, he had hit 2 of those threes. So dribble up into a pull-up 3 before the double can come and just try to launch it over.
Okay, I'll buy that.
I thought that could have been. Okay. But so I'll give you that. But ultimately, it comes down to this. Golden State was on fire. They hit 23s. They shot 48% from 3, which is the second most threes in finals history. And to put it in context, remember when Cleveland won their one game over Golden State when they hit 24, 25, 24 threes, I think. Remember how I'd never seen anything like that. I'd never seen a shooting display like that. Well, they hit 20 last night. They were only 4 beneath that last night. And then the Raptors only hit 8. I'd love to credit Golden State's defense, but I got to be honest, the Raptors had open looks, and they just missed them. Golden State at times played good defense, but they missed a lot of open threes. And to cap it off, they only shot 78% from the free throw line. They had been shooting 90% Toronto in the first 4 games. So they shot uncharacteristically poorly in this game, considering how they'd been in the first 4 games. And Golden State was on fire. Steph and Klay, obviously, but Quinn Cook hit a big one. Iguodala even hit 1 big 3. Draymond hit a big 3 in the 4th quarter. And Cousins came and played well like he did in game 2. So, but ultimately, if I had to say one thing, Skip, out of all I said, I say the shooting. 23s for Golden State, 8 for Toronto. And that was
quick point of order before Shannon goes.
No, go ahead. Take off. You take it.
In the second half, before Steph Curry hit the biggest three-point shot of his career, to tie it.
Right.
He was 1 for 8 in the second half from 3. So he had hit a cold spell. So I got you with the 23s, but he seemed so cold that it was against all odds that he was going to take that shot, which was a contested 3. It wasn't a clean look. It wasn't wide open. He had to create it off, he was on the move, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was coming around it. Yep.
Here's what I saw. I saw the all-time classic premature celebration. And it was psychological, but you could just feel that building erupt after number 2 went on a Jordan-esque salvo, and he scores 10 points in less than 2 minutes, starting at the 5:13 mark down to 3:28. Once that happened, you could just feel the roof lift off that arena, and it was like Toronto was prematurely celebrating their first NBA championship. Shannon Sharp, somewhere in Atlanta last night, was prematurely celebrating because he thought it was over, and he thought that number 2 had crowned himself as the MVP, and he had shown you he could take over a game the way Jordan or LeBron or Kobe or whoever, or Magic or Bird or whoever you want to talk about, had taken over. He had gone all-time in that stretch. And I'll give you, he did go all-time in that stretch, but the game was not over. There was 3:28 left. And even though it looked to my eyes like Golden State had hit the proverbial wall, they had just run out of gas and out of miracles, it looked like Steph was so cold at 1 for 8 in the second half that there is no way they're going to figure out how to come back. And then the biggest shot, momentum-wise, of the game is Klay hit his first 3. And it was a shocker because all of a sudden, boom, you're saying, wait a second, they're back in the game.
All that was coming out of that timeout.
Okay.
Just quickly to your point, I do agree. I think that the Raptors, I didn't feel like Golden State was done because with the three-point shot, you're never out of it
those
now.
two
Right,
out there?
especially with that team, you're never out of it. But I think maybe that's why Nurse felt comfortable calling that timeout. And you're right, maybe it was legitimate reasons that he gave, but that may have been part of it too. We got this.
Let's
calm everybody down.
Okay.
Let's
we
get
got
our
this.
composure.
Here we go.
And he felt
now let's
fine
just play it out. And then the other shock to me, even though they got Clayed and Stephed and then finally Clayed with the game winner, Golden State survived and won another huge game in spite of itself. It played another incredibly sloppy basketball game by its dynastic standards because 15 more turnovers, and then Shannon and I talked about it earlier, in the last 37 seconds, Draymond steps on across the half-court line and gets a backcourt violation. You can't do that. And then DeMarcus has a moving pick called on him with 15.7 seconds left, and you're only up 1. So twice you give Toronto new life, right? And Toronto could not capitalize, in large part to me, because number 2 went very quiet over the last 3:28.
I thought it was bizarre that he didn't have the ball in his hands. Now, maybe he was worn out. Maybe because Kyle Lowry was bringing it up, which obviously is the point guard. But I would have put it at that point. I would have put it in Kawhi's hands.
Just take it home.
Yeah, because the way he was playing, and again, I think he was just worn out.
Well, he forced up that turnaround fall-away jumper and airballed that one.
Exactly.
And then he took a 3 and missed that one, and that was it for him.
That was a heat check. That was a heat check, Skip.
Yep.
He had I'm feeling good. I pulled up for 2 threes. I got into the basket, almost got an and one on Iggy. I hit another pull-up. So that was a heat check to see where he actually was at that point in time. But I thought Kevin Durant's influence on this ball game, although he only played 12 minutes, the 11 points and the opening of the court, he allowed Klay and Steph to get looks that they did not enjoy in the first 4 games that they played in. And so now he let them find a rhythm. And the one thing you know about great shooters, once they get a rhythm, it's hard to get them out of that rhythm. You see, Skip, that's what happened in Game 3, is that Steph didn't have anybody to come along with him. And we talked about it. If he had Klay to come along with him. Now, in Game 4, Klay came along, but Steph didn't come with him. In this game, both of them was riding. Both of them, it was a bicycle, as you like to say, Skip, built for 2, but both of the guys were pedaling. And so even though, and that's the mark of a great shooter with huge confidence, no matter how bad the struggle has been, he feels the next shot he puts up is going to go in. Because there's no way, Skip, struggling the way he had been the second half, shooting the three, he should have come, Skip, he came off that pick knowing, I'm letting this ball go.
He did.
And it's going to go in.
Shot it with conviction.
He shot it with,
as opposed to double clutching, hitching, second guessing.
Yeah,
he just shot.
Yeah, one of his shots before that, he had kind of hitched a little bit. He wasn't doing it all night, but maybe it was the one right before that, but yeah.
Yeah.
And Skip, you know about Klay Thompson? If he ever catches the ball at the three and you fly by him and he dribbles that ball like he's at the free throw line,
you're done.
Oh, don't even worry about it.
Yep.
Just go, hey, get
It's
ready
like
to
a
get it up out the
free throw.
net.
Yep, it's like a free throw.
It is.
I do want to echo what you said because this was fascinating to me. Remember, Kevin Durant went down with 9:46 left in the second quarter. Right. So they had to survive, more than a half quarter.
Basically
there.
three quarters.
Yeah, it's close to 3/4 that you had to survive without him. This reminded me more of Houston/Portland, where they just said, we're going to be okay, because they showed me guts, they showed me resilience, they showed me that DeMarcus Cousins, as the third-string center, could come in and just say, I got this, I'm going to be okay, because they needed that, or they wouldn't have survived without his, for him to make 6 out of 8 shots and have 6 rebounds and hit a big three. And Quinn Cook finally made 1 big three. They got some contributions, but they played with a conviction I had not seen without Kevin. Because remember, all along before, through this series, they're thinking, well, he's going to come back next game. He's going to come back. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. Well, last night they knew once and for all that's the end of that deal.
That's an interesting point, because you're right about that. And maybe Golden State has done themselves a disservice by letting it linger. He might come back. He might come back. I think they were playing mind games with the opponents. But maybe it hurt them a little bit, too.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is that the Raptors are going to have to understand. The Warriors are like that homeboy. You got that homeboy, he come over and he don't know when to leave. You got to make him leave. If you think the Warriors are going to go away, the Warriors are that homeboy, they're not leaving. You got to make them leave. They're not going to quit. They're just not going to say, you know what? We're down 3-1. All right, we had a great run. It's over now. No KD hurt. So, hey, guys, let's just say we had a great run. We'll get them next year. They're not going away like that. That's not how they're built. That's not how they're wired. This unit has come back from 3-1 before. That's what everybody forget. With Kevin Durant on the opposing team.
Yep.
So they've been here before. This is not something new to them. Maybe they haven't done it in the finals, but they did it in the Western Conference Finals. So this very unit feels comfortable saying, hey, we can do it again.
Yep. So final point. Of the 5 games played so far in the NBA Finals, the team that shot the best from 3 has won all 5. Golden State lives, dies by the 3. So in Game 2 at Toronto and now in Game 5, they won the 3-point shooting contest. And last night, they won it by a lot.
Right.
Okay, and it took that, right?
You believe they can do it again?
Obviously,
Skip, but think about it. They made 23s and they only won by 1.
Okay.
What happens if they make 10?
Well, what happens if they have only 3 turnovers instead of 15? How about that?
Well, they do turn it over.
We know they're careless with the ball.
They're gonna have.
They're careless with the ball.
Yeah. Okay.
But if what you said is definitely factual. If that's going to be the pattern, then you would bet on Golden State.
You would bet on Golden
Because
State.
obviously they're the better 3-point
Excellent.
Well, I tell you what, you bet on Golden State, Chris.
Around, gentlemen.
I know you're a man of the cloth and you don't like to bet, but you bet on Golden State. Let me get some of that old collection plate money you got.
You bailed on it?
That was a long time ago.
Shannon and Chris, because Chris is sticking around with us. And up next, we're going to discuss if the Warriors are now in the driver's seat in the finals. We're back right after this.